I am sharing my screen now. If you can see my screen, you can also say that in the chat box. Okay, if you can see my screen, then you can say that in the chat box. All right then. So, as I was saying, yeah, it's going to be a very interactive session. When it is the question and answer session, I would ask everyone to drop their questions and I would answer all of the questions. Then meanwhile, as I am teaching, I'll be asking if you understand. If you understand, all you have to do is just say yes in the chat box, and that's going to be it. So let's get started. I hope everyone is hearing me, and I hope everyone can see my screen. So I'd like for us to get started. So to start this session, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Joseph. I am a UI UX designer and a software engineer. I am also a content creator on YouTube, yeah, where I create content teaching JavaScript and UI UX design. So that's that about me. Now, without wasting time here, let's go to business and let's start our course for today. Now, to remind ourselves on what this course is all about. This course will be focused and will be all about teaching you how to design a web application from the UX stage to the UI design stage. And the course will also be focused on teaching you how to build the web application that you have designed from the front end to the back end without using code. Now, for the tools that we are going to use in this course here, I would like to say that for design, we are going to use Figma. And for building the front end and back end without code, we are going to use Bubble. So launch your Figma app and be designing alongside with me, because that's the best way to learn actually. But if you can't design alongside, just watch and take notes, then you can ask questions where you are not clear. And let's just go over some things before we start designing and building. And at this stage, I would like for us to talk about the opportunities that come with knowing how to design with Figma and knowing how to build with Bubble. So designing with Figma and building with Bubble is a recent skill that has been used to design and build lots of great apps out there today. And some examples of these great apps that were designed with Figma and built with Bubble are, I hope everyone is still there. Now, some of these apps that were designed with Figma and built with Bubble are apps like Coins. Now, this app here, I hope everyone can see my screen. This app here called Coins was built with Bubble. Was built with Bubble without code actually. It was designed in Figma and it was built in Bubble. This app right here, this Coins app is used to pay off debt. Now, if I click on Get Started Coins, it's going to take me to the app section of of this app actually, like the app section of the web, where I can sign up or I can log in and start tracking my debt payment. Now, another app that was designed with Figma and built with Bubble is this app called Incoming. Now, this is it here. This app also was built with Bubble and designed with Figma. It's an app that you can use to track payments actually, just a fintech app to track all your financial activities. Now, this app was designed in Figma and built in Bubble without code. Now, you can click on Start Free here, and you'll be taken to the page where you have to sign up with Google or enter these details to get started. Another app I would like to show you guys is this app called Equina Scheduling. Now, this app is a medical scheduling app that was also designed in Figma and built with Bubble. App was built without code. Trust me. This app is used to schedule shift in hospitals and in pharmacies. This app called Equina Scheduling. Now the app is working really fine, and just to just there is this app that I just worked on recently for a client. It's called piggybanker.io. This app is just 2 weeks old actually. It's a fintech app that you can use to track your your financial spendings from your traditional bank account and your crypto wallet. Now, when you track your financial spendings, you can then populate all of those on Google Sheets. Now, it is owned by a guy called Clay. Actually, Clay is based in Texas. This app was built without code. I was actually in this project. And we built this project in 3 weeks. This project was in 3 weeks. All of this. Now, the only thing we had to do that was a bit complex, no code development in this app, was the connection or the integration with Bubble and the Plaid API. I know guys in America know about the Plaid API. It's a popular financial API service in the US. So we integrated this service here in Bubble with the Plaid API. Now that's the good thing about Bubble. You can integrate any API at all with Bubble. So you want to build your sign up and your login system, and then you integrate API service into your Bubble app. And you can do that with little or no code at all. So that's just to show you products that have been built, that have been designed with Figma and built with Bubble. This design was created in Figma, then we also built this design with Bubble. And like I said, it took us 3 weeks. Now, so all of these apps that I have just demonstrated, that I have just showed you, apart from piggybanker.io, these other apps here, you can go online and read about coins and the rest of them. You would see that these apps are already making millions of dollars in revenue, hundreds of dollars without a large engineering team and without a large design team. Now, talking about I am still talking about the opportunities that you will be exposed to knowing it's Figma and build with Bubble. So not having a large design and not having a large engineering team, means low cost of development for startups and for investors. And low cost of development means low risk investment for startups and investors. So seeing that an appealing stuff to startups and investors, if that can be built with Figma and Bubble, they won't hesitate to go for Figma and Bubble. Now, I know some of you may be asking, what type of can built with Figma and Bubble? It's simple. You have dashboard apps. Present this. You can build dashboard apps in Figma, obviously. That in Bubble. You can design social media apps. You can design invoicing apps. You can build apps that consume APIs. And these days, most apps out there consume APIs. Now, you can also design and build job boards with Figma and Bubble. And we are going to see how to design a job board in Figma and build that job board into an app. The job board can be live. Now, when I mean live, I mean it's going to work in your browser. You can enter your details. You can sign up. You can log in, and also you can apply for jobs right there. And I will show you the database part of it, where you can see all the applications that are being made on the app. Now, I would also like to mention that this type of apps that are built in Bubble, are called MVPs. They're called MVPs. And in a nutshell, MVPs are the first and basic version of your app. that you can build just so that you can get your idea out there quickly, and so that users can start using your app. Now, when you have users in millions, yeah, you can then decide to scale the app by having software engineers build the app with code. Because apps that are built with code can scale better than apps that are built with Bubble. But the idea of building an MVP with Bubble is that when you want to build an app, yeah, of course, you won't launch your app this year and have 300,000 users. It's almost impossible to launch an app and have 1 million users in 2 years. So Bubble gives room for you to build your app, and people can use the app as long as the users are not in millions. You can have use an app that was built with Bubble, and they will be using the app just fine. You can have even 500,000 use an app that was built with Bubble, and they will be using the app just when the app becomes really popular and the app is trying to have other custom features on top of it, like microservices, or there is need to develop an infrastructure as a part of that app, then you can then go further to get software engineers that will come and build. But the good thing is this, yeah, by that time where you have 500,000 users and you are about to build for 2 million users, you already have money. You are already making money. So you won't find it difficult to raise money for the hire of the engineers that you need. You are already making money. You are already a profitable company. So all you have to do is take your records to a venture capital firm, and you can prove that what you have is a solution to a problem and it is working. Now that way you can easily get fund and scale your company to whichever level you want to scale your company to. So that's the idea of building an MVP first. And an MVP is just the little version or the basic version of your idea that you can use to test the market if the market will accept your solution. And you can also make profit from it. You can generate revenue from MVPs. And then when the idea becomes really big, you hire software engineers and they code the app with code. So that's that for the whole that's that for talking about the basics and all of that. So I won't talk much at this stage. What I would like us to do is, at this moment, I would like for us to get to business because we don't have time. It's just 2 hours today and 2 hours tomorrow. So at this moment, I would like for us to go to business, to get to business and start the design process of a web application from the UX research stage to the UI design stage in Figma. Now, remember, I mentioned earlier that we are. Someone said, I'm logging in my computer. Okay, sorry about that. If you can't log in, someone is going to attend to you. So at this moment, I would like for us to get started. Let's go over to to let's go over to our Figma account. So here's my Figma account. So the first process I would like for us to launch is the X research process of this job board application that I said that we are going to build. Remember, I mentioned that we are going to build a job board as our project for this course. So I would like you all to open a FigJam file. Now, not a Figma design file, a FigJam file. This is it here. Click on this button here in Figma account, and you would create a FigJam file. Now, this is my FigJam file that I had already created for this course. Now, I would open it, and what I have here is the research that I already carried out or that already documented for this course. What I'm going to do is walk you guys through the whole process from scratch. And if you have any questions, I would always be here for you to give me questions that I can answer. And if I can't answer them, you give me again, and I'll try to answer. All of us will try to brainstorm ourselves and see how we can come up with answers. So what I have here, this is my FigJam file. Now, is my UX research framework for this project. Now, this is my framework. This is my UX research framework. Now, at the beginning here, the first stage of the framework is the general problem stage. This is the stage where I get a request from the stakeholders, like from the people who want to build the app, or from my boss at the office, or from someone who gives me a contract to build this job board application for them. Now, this is that stage, the general problem stage. After this general problem stage, there is a sub stage here. There is a little stage here that says UX scheme research. I would explain that stage when we get to see the details of this framework. Now, after this general problem stage, the next major stage here is the empathy stage. Now, this stage carry out interviews or surveys just so that I can learn more about the problem that was given to me by the stakeholder. Now, when I learn about the problem very well at this empathy stage, then I would move over to the next stage, which is my define stage. Now, at this stage, I would create my problem statement. At this define stage, I would create my problem statement. When I create my problem statement, I would move over to the next stage of my UX research framework, which is the ideate stage. Now, at this stage, what I'll do is just come up with ideas that can address the problems that I have here in my problem statement. And remember, I came up with this problem statement from all I learned during this empathy stage. So you can see the connection here. Now, at this ideate stage, the best way to come up with the ideas, yeah, in this case, will be just to brainstorm or to maybe just go online, search. You can use any method at all. But in this case, I would brainstorm on my own and also learn from this and also learn from the results of this stage here. Then I would create a task flow. Now, you can also create an information architecture. It is optional in this case. Now, in my case, I won't create an information architecture. I will just create a task flow. And that's because the task flow will be enough to solve the problems that I have for this project. Now, that's something I want to also draw to bring to our notice. UX frameworks are not written in stone. There are some projects that you'd have to add more processes to your frameworks. And there are some projects that you will have to remove some processes from your frameworks because they will become too cumbersome. It is not every time that you will have to have an information architecture and a task flow, a user flow, and all of that. Sometimes you just want to build a feature. Sometimes you just want to build a very basic CRUD app. Sometimes you just want to build a wallet, just a wallet. So when you want to have just a wallet, you can't use the same UX process if you want to have an app like Twitter, or you can't use the same UX process that you'd use on an app like Uber. You can't use that for an app that is just a wallet. So research processes are dynamic. And it is not written in stone also. As you start from this stage to this stage, you would definitely find out which process is necessary and can bring reasonable solution to the problems in your problem statement. In this case, in my ideate stage, I'll just have a task flow. Now, from my task flow, I'll be able to generate low fidelity prototype. Now, this is me coming to this next stage here. I'll be able to generate low fidelity prototype and a high fidelity prototype. Now when I have a high fidelity prototype, I'll vet that high fidelity prototype into an MVP bubble. Now it is when I convert it to an MVP in bubble that I can now test it to see if it is actually a great product for the range part of it and for the interface design part of it. Now, at this point, I'd like everyone to let me know if they understand what I am saying. Actually, if you are following and you understand this framework process, just say yes in the comment section so that I can proceed to break down the whole process better. Okay, it seems everyone is following. So what I have here is my UX framework, right? Now, all of these stages will have to be broken down. I would like to break down these stages one after another. And someone should someone should remind me later to just have like a crash course on how to use FigJam. I know some people may not know how to create stuff like this in FigJam. Now, someone should remind me just in case I forget. I'll just have a 5 minute crash course on how you can create stuff like this in FigJam and how you can use FigJam to build your case study that you can post on Behance. Actually, just for 5 minutes. Someone should remind me later. Now let's look at each stage of this UX design, this UX research framework. For the general problem stage here, which is the stage where we get the request from the stakeholders. If you come here, let's zoom in. This is the general problem stage here. Now, let's assume that the request that we get from the stakeholders is this. Let's assume that this is what the stakeholders sent to us. The stakeholders are saying, we have learned from a certain data company that 72% of online job seekers abandon their online application process. Now, that is what they have learned. Now, this is what this here is what the stakeholders want. They say, we want to build a job site that will make the current method of online application way easier than it is. Now, this here is from the stakeholders. This is the request from the stakeholders. This is the problem that the stakeholders have identified. And this is what they want to solve this problem. Now, if you remember, after this general problem stage here, I have this little stage that says UX scheme research. Now, this scheming research is just general, actually. It's in any form. But in this case, most times personally, what I do is I go online after I get this request from the stakeholders. I go online and I try to look for similar products that do what the stakeholders are talking about. Like in this case, the UX designer will have to go online and use existing job sites to outline possible problems with the user's experience that could lead to an applicant abandoning their application process. Now, this is easy. As a UX researcher, you would go online, sign up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 job boards or job sites. Then you would see how all of them work. Then as you are using them, you will start taking note of the steps and the experience that will make users abandon their application process on those job sites. Now, that's why UX researchers are natural empaths, or are people who develop themselves into being empaths. So when you go online and you use some of these job sites and you are able to outline the possible problems that the users may be facing here, then you would move to the next stage of the UX research framework, which is the empathy stage. Now, at this empathy stage, all you are going to do is to create a survey or a questionnaire and send out to job applicants who apply for jobs online with the existing job sites. Let's take that again. At this stage, you would create a survey or a questionnaire and send out to job applicants who apply for jobs online with existing job sites. Now, in your questionnaire or in your survey, you would ask relevant questions that would reveal their frustrations and will also state their goals for a better experience. Now, for this stage here, I created a Google Forms questionnaire. Now, you can use Google Forms, you can use SurveyMonkey, you can use any tool out there to get answers from the users. In this case, I created a Google form just so that we don't waste much time and bore people. So I'll click on this link here to go to the Google form so that you can see the type of questions that I asked in the survey. Now, here we are. This is the Google form here. As you can see, it says online job application survey. Now, when you are creating a survey or you are creating a questionnaire, let the questionnaire be empathic. Let the questionnaire appeal to the people facing the problem. Like, yeah, anyone who is looking for a job can be attached to a survey that will make them see that that survey can improve their situation. So when you put online job application survey here, make sure you have a description that can appeal to the user you are sending the survey to. Like in this case, what I have here is this survey is aimed at improving your experience when applying for jobs online by increasing your chances of landing a job quicker by 60%. You can say by 70%, 80%, or any percentage at all. Now, to get the actual percentage that you'd have here, your research team can actually come up with an analysis, and you guys can estimate how this solution will be of help to them, and you'd rate that and put it here. Now, when the job seeker, who is the user, sees a description like this, the job seeker will be interested in taking this application survey automatically. So that's how to get people to be interested in taking a survey that you send out. You make the survey or the questionnaire to be appealing to problems. Now, the first thing you do is the email address the of the person you sent the questionnaire to. Reason is because email addresses are powerful. You can use this for marketing, you can use this for lead generation, you can use this for so many other reasons. And also, you can send out newsletters to announce the launch of the product. And you can use this email address to contact the users once more if you have to go over the UX research process. So collecting the email address is really important. Now, the next thing you would have here is to collect the full name of the user taking this. Then it is necessary in this situation to ask the user if they are employed or not. Now, there are many people who are employed and they want better jobs. Yeah, those ones still apply for jobs every day. And there are people who are not employed and they want jobs. So it is very important that you ask the users taking this survey if they are employed or not. Now, the next question that I have here is, how frequently do you apply for jobs? Now, it is also important to know the frequency that at which most people apply for jobs, because when you know the frequency at which most people apply for jobs, then you can have a good analysis that will be like, people apply for job 60% of the time they spend online, but they don't complete their application by 90%. That can help you get more insight about the problem. So this question here, which says how frequently do you jobs online, is a very important question. Now, the next question here is, how many job applications do you complete online? Now you'd have an option of ticking all or more than 50. Now take note, this is a radio button. With radio buttons, you can't select more than one option as your answer. You only have to select one. And that is what we want here. We just want to select one option here. Now you ask them, how many job applications do you complete online? When they select their answer here, we go to the next question, which is, what do you think are the reasons you don't complete your online job applications? Now specify that they should select more than one answer. Now for this case here, you would use a checkbox. Because with checkboxes, users can select more than one answers. Now, this is the first option here. It says the application process is overwhelming with too many forms to fill. The second option here is, most times I have to sign up, verify, and build a profile before I can apply to a role. The last option here is, most job boards request that you type a cover letter on their website. Now, the user taking this survey can select all of these as their answers, or can select two as their answers. Now, the next question here, which is the question, is, what do you think? Now you have heard from them, you have listened to the problem from the users. Now you want to listen to them to tell you what they think can make their experience to be better. Now, this is the question here. It's what you think will make you complete over 95% of your online job application process. Also, tell them to select more than one answer. Now, the first option here is if I have if I don't have to sign up or build a profile on a job board before I applying, if the forms are really brief, if mobile web experiences are prioritized by job boards, or if I don't have to type a cover letter. Now, these are the options you'd outline for them to choose. Now, when they fill this form, they would submit the form. Then you would go to your Google Forms dashboard and you'd check the whole result and you'd analyze the results. Now, if everyone here wants me to just skip the Google Form process, say yes. But if you want me to, but if you want me to have a 2 minute breakdown on how create Google Forms and also analyze them and take them to spreadsheets, you can say no in the chat box. So that just say no if you want me to go ahead. Actually, that's actually confusing. Say no if you want me to go ahead. Okay. So lots of people are saying no. So I'll just take it quickly. So Google Forms is already there for you as long as you have a Gmail account. If you have a Gmail account, log it in your browser. Then when you open your browser, come here, you see this. You can see where my mouse pointer is on. Click on that icon there and scroll down to this point. You will see forms here. Now, if you don't see forms here, click on more from Google. When you click on more from Google, you will definitely be taken to a point where you see all of Google products. Click on browse all products and you'll see somewhere like this is forms here. Now, when you click on forms, you'll be taken to Google Forms. Let's click on go to forms. Now, this is forms here. That's one way. If that's difficult, go to your browser, type in Google Forms, come here, click on forms there, then you can sign in with your Google account. Or if your browser is signed into your account, then you don't need to sign in. Just come here and click on go to forms. When you click on go to forms, then you can create a new form by coming here and clicking on this blank option there. When you click on blank, a new form will be created. Now, first things first, give the form a title. Now I can say job form. When you give it a title, come here and also give the document a title. Now, you can call it job form or whatever you want to call it, and that's okay. Now, the next important thing is to give the form a description. Now, this section is where you type in a description. You can say this form is for, you go on and on and on and on. Now, for collecting email addresses, you have to make this a setting. It won't be there automatically for you actually. You won't have this email option there automatically. So to make sure that you collect people's email from your Google Form service, come here, click on settings. Then you scroll down to this section that says form default. You click on this drop down here. Then you see this option that says collect email addresses by default. Select it. When you toggle it on, Google Forms will always have this email field at the top first to ensure that every user that takes this survey or that answers the questions in the questionnaire will have to provide their email address. Now, after that, you can create your next question. You can say, what do you think is good about job? When you create your next question, then I would want the users to answer as a multiple choice answer, or they can type in they can type in a paragraph. They can select one choice if it is multiple choice. You can also have them use and select two options with checkboxes or more than two options. You can also have a drop down. You can also have down. Now when you select drop down, you can type in the options that you want in the drop down, like let's say school, let's say house, and let's say market. Now, when you type in the question and the options that you want the users to select, you can come here and make sure that this question is required, which means that the users must have to answer this question before they go ahead. When I select required, it means that this question must be answered by the person taking the survey. Now, to preview what you are doing, actually, to preview the whole form that you are building to see if it's on track, come here, you see this, you, you can see where my mouse cursor is on. Come here, you will see this button here. Click on preview. When you click on preview, you will see the form here. Now, this is how the form will look like when you send it to a user. The user will enter their email address and they would select an option from this drop down that we created. Now, if I click on choose, you will see that those options that I typed in are what we have here. So just like this, you have created a short form. So let's go back to our form tab, and you'll see that if I create this question and I want another question, I would come here and I would click on this plus sign here that says add question. And I can add a new question, set how I want them to answer the question, and type in my options here and make it required. If I want to delete this question, I would come here and I would click on this delete button here. If I want to delete this question, I would first of all click on the question itself. To select it, then I would click on this delete button. But in this case, I would like to delete this question here. So I would click on it, come here, and I would click on the delete button, and that question is deleted. So if I come here in this job form and I type in my email address and I select an option here, let's say house, when I click on submit here, now this is me assuming that I am a user taking the survey. If I click on submit, the form will be submitted. Now, you, the owner of the form, can see the results here. You can, let's come here. Let's go back to our Google Form page. Go back to your browser again. Type in Google Forms. When you type in Google Forms, you go to Google Forms. Then you click on Go to Forms here. When you go to Forms, you see all your forms that you have created listed here. As you can see, I have lots of forms here. Now, when you click on this job form here, when you click on it, you'll see that over here, the Responses tab has one number here. So I'll click on one here, and you can see that these are all the answers. So you can export this answer to spreadsheet by clicking on create spreadsheet here, just like this. And if I click on create, it's going to take the answers of the whole survey to Google Sheets for me, and it can be analyzed here in Google Sheets better. So that's all for Google Forms. We are going to proceed to the next phase of our of this course so that we don't waste too much time. Now, at this empathy stage, after we have created the survey or the questionnaire and our users have passed in their answers, at this stage, still under the empathy stage, you will document the survey results, the results that you got from the survey. It is important that you document it, and the method of documentation is really important. Sometimes people call this documentation process the user persona process. Sometimes people call it the user persona process, but you can choose to call it that or not. Personally, I just document the results with this method. Now, this is how to document it. You document the survey results based on the questions that you asked in your survey, obviously. So you'd come here, you'd say the name of the person, you'd write down the name of the person, the employment status. Remember, we asked these questions. Now you write it down. The frequency of application, you write it down. The rate of completion, you write the person's answer down. Then also you'd write the reasons for completion rates. The reasons for completion rates, which is like the reasons why the person does not complete, let's say the reasons for bad completion rate, the reason why the user doesn't really go through with most of their applications. Now, let's say these are the reasons that the user selected. The user selected the three options. Now, when you document this, you create another section here where you document the answers that the users gave when it comes to improving their experience so that they can have better completion rates. Now, in this case, these are all the answers here. Now, when you do this, you and your UX research team, or if it's just you alone, you can use all of these answers, yeah, from all the users. Now, in this case, take note, I am only assuming that we have just one user. But when you send out a real survey, you'd have more than 10 users, 20, sometimes 100 users. Now, you can analyze their answers. That's why it is important to take it to spreadsheets sometimes, so that you can have real-time analysis with graphs and all of that. You can analyze the answers that you got from the survey or the questionnaire, and you would know the most painful part of their experience with the current apps that they are using. Now, when you are done analyzing their experience with the results that you got from the survey, the next thing you do is to use those problems to come up with, to define a problem statement. Now, your problem statement should be brief, as simple as ABC. And the problem statement should focus on the things you can do. Like, focus the problem statement on the problems you can solve. Like, don't, if you want to build a logistics app, like that takes goods from one state to the next state, you don't have to you don't have to bother yourself about ships sinking in the ocean, because you don't like, there is nothing you can do about that. Ships will sink if they have to sink. Now, it is the people that are into the ship business that can handle that. But as long as you are not trying to solve the sinking of ships, don't capture that in your problem statement. Let your problem statement capture the things you can solve. So in this case, I defined the problem statement to be this: users of existing job sites are overwhelmed with lengthy forms and a handful of process bottlenecks that often lead to frustration. Now, this is my problem statement. Now, having this problem statement, you'd see that these problems, like lengthy forms, are problems I can solve. Problems like process bottlenecks are problems I can also solve. Now, and these problems are problems that concerns the users, not the owners of apps. Just the users. Focus on the users in your problem statement. Don't focus on any other person. Don't focus on the stakeholders. Don't focus on the primary stakeholders. Focus on the users. Now, when you define your problem statement, then you would go to the next UX research stage, which is the ideate stage. Now, it is at this stage that you would come up with ideas that can address the problem in this problem statement stage. Now, look at how I came up with my own ideas. I said, okay, create a job site where users do not have to sign up or log in to complete an application. Create a job site where users would only have to enter their full name, email address, LinkedIn URL optionally, portfolio URL optionally, upload their CV and cover letters. Now, this is the idea that I came up with, and that I believe will solve the problem in this problem statement. Now, in your case, you may have two other UX designers there, three other UX designers, and you guys can actually hold a brainstorming session. You guys can dig in deeper actually to find out more innovative ways to solve the problems in the problem statement. Now, after the ideate stage, the next thing to do is to move to the next stage of the UX research process, which is the stage where we would have to have a task flow created. Actually, this stage is still under the ideate stage. Actually, it's still under the ideate stage. I would have to bring this down. This is under the ideate stage. Now, remember, this is the stage where we still like we are coming up with ideas and making sure that the ideas are feasible. Now, I know that sometimes there are some UX research frameworks out there that will tell you to take some of these processes that I will soon talk about to the prototype stage. Personally, and the way I have seen it work in most companies is that the the most hard work, or let's say the most problems that you have to solve during the UX research stage happens under the ideate stage of the UX research process. Like it is when you get to the ideate stage that you see the UX designers get to real work. That's how I have seen it happen most times in real life. Most UX designers spend more time at their ideate stage. When they get to the prototype stage, they are more relaxed because they start doing low-fi's and high-fi's and start pushing screens here and there and all of that. Now, that's why I try to keep all of these processes under the ideate stage. Now, when you come up with this idea, the next thing you do is to try to break down the idea and see how the idea can be feasible with users. Now, take note, this idea that you are coming up with, this idea is meant to solve the problems of the users. Now, the first question you would ask yourself, who are the users? In this case, for this job board that I am trying to create, we have two types of users. We have the job applicants, which is the applicant here, and we have the organizations, which are the companies that will come to post job vacancies or job opportunities on the job board. Now, these are the two users that we will have on our web application. Now, these two users, they have different goals. Like they have different purposes that they always want to fulfill when they go on the web application. Now, the next thing I'll do is to define the goals of these two users. Now, for the applicants, the goal of the applicants will be to send job applications. And the goal of the organizations will be to post job vacancies. Now, having this, I have defined the users for this idea that I came up with, and I have also defined the goals of the users. Now, the next thing to do is to break down this process, is to break down this goal here, this user goal. Now, take note, for the applicant, the user goal is to send the job applications. Now, the next thing we are going to do is to create a user task for this goal. Now, a user task is simply the steps or the processes that users will take to achieve their goal on an app. Like the process you take to send somebody a message on WhatsApp is to open WhatsApp first, then click on that bottom section so that you can type. When you type, then you click on the send button. That way, you have achieved your goal of sending a message to somebody with WhatsApp. Now, opening the app is a task. Typing is a task. Clicking on the send button is a task. And it is all of these tasks that you have to complete to achieve your goal. Now, for the applicants, the task for the applicants on this app will be to sort through available jobs and select one. Then see the details of that job that they have selected and apply for that job that they selected and saw the details of. Now, when the applicant completes this task, and this task, it means that the applicant has achieved this goal, which is to send job applications. Now, for the applicant here, we need to create a task flow. What we have here is a user task. What we have here is a user task. Now, after creating the user task, it is important to create a task flow. Now, what is a task flow? A task flow is all of the steps that the user will have to take for each task or to complete each task. Now, this task here called sort through available jobs and select one here will have a task flow. And the task flow will be that the user will visit the home page on the web application, then sort through list of jobs and click card to select a job from the job list. Now, this flow here, this task flow here, are all of the steps that the user will have to take to accomplish this task. Now, if I am making sense, if you are following and you understand, you just say yes in the chat box so that I can really so that I can proceed. Okay, and for those asking if you are going to get a copy of the slides or of the feed jam, yes, I will drop the link in the chat box. Okay, now for this task here, this is the flow. Now for this other task here, which is see details of selected job, this is the flow here. To see the details of the selected job, the user will have to accomplish this step here, which is view details of selected job. The user will have to view the details, then click on a button that says apply for job. When the user clicks on this button, it means the user have seen the details of the selected job. Then finally, to apply for the job, to apply for the job, the user will have to enter their full name, enter their email address, enter their LinkedIn, enter their portfolio. Now, this is optional. Then the user will have to upload their CV, upload cover letter, and click on the apply button. Now, when the user completes all of these tasks, all of these little actions here, right? When the user carries out all of these actions, it means that the user has accomplished this task, which is to apply. Now, to go over it again, take note. We started from creating this, coming up with this idea, then defining the users that we will have if we create this idea. Then I defined the user goals of these two users. Now, after defining the user goals, I broke down the goals by creating a user task for each of the goal of these users here. Now, for this applicant, for this applicant user, their goal is to send job application. So I said, okay, the task they will have to complete for that is to do this, and do this. Now, for these three tasks here, we need to have a task flow for each of them, which is all of this here, all of this link. Now, if the user visits homepage, take note now, if the user visits homepage, sort through list of jobs, click card to select a job from the list, view details of the selected job, and click on the button to apply for the job, then enter full name, enter the email address, enter this, and click on the apply button. It means that that user has completed their goal on that web application. Now you can see how this goal has been broken down into all of these steps. Now, it is when you break it down into the steps that you can actually sit down and optimize the steps if you have to optimize the steps. Now, you can say, okay, I don't want the user to click on this. I'll take this step out and I'll add this step here. I'll take this step out and I'll add a new step. Maybe here I would want the user to have a pop-up, not a new page. That is when you can start to optimize the user experience better. It is only when you break down the complete task that the user will have to take step by step that you can optimize the user experience of the user, because user experience is basically the experience that the user is basically the way the user feels when the user uses the app. So that's that for the applicant's user flow and the applicant's user task. Sorry about that. I keep confusing that. Now for the organization here, take note, the organization has a goal here, which is to post job vacancies. And to achieve that, the organization will have to just complete these two tasks, which is to sign up or log into the platform, then post a job. As simple as that. Now, in this course, since we will be majorly focused on applicants, the organization will only be able to post jobs on the platform. Subsequently, we may have another session, yeah, where we will develop a management dashboard, like we will create a task flow that will contain a management dashboard for the organizations that are posting job applications or job opportunities on the web app. But for now, this session or this course is going to focus on those who want to apply to jobs. Now, this is the task flow for the organization. For this task here, which is to sign up, all the organization will do is to visit homepage, click on post a job button, then sign up or login, fill in job details, and click on post button. And that's all. The organization will be able to post a job with this process. Now, it is still by breaking down this process that you can optimize the experience that the organization will have on the web application. You can take out any step here, replace it with something else. You can say, instead of clicking on post a job button, they can hover on the button and have one small pop-up show up that will just show them details. Then just something like that. You can just come up with anything that you think will be better as a process. But in this case, I would have all of this stay here. Now, this is my little job board UX research process. This is it. I created the framework first, then I went through all of these stages. Now, take note, try to make your UX research process as realistic as it can be, because when you make it non-realistic, it means you are not solving a real problem. It is only when you make it realistic that you can say you are solving a real problem. So, like I said, you don't have to impute all the steps or all the processes that you know. If a UX process won't solve a UX problem, don't bring it in so that you don't complicate issues. Now, this is all for the UX process. I'll leave this time now for little questions. If you have any questions, say it in the chat box. And if you have any questions, say it in the chat box. If you don't have any questions, I'll just proceed. But for this file, I'll share the link to this file in the chat box now. So you can actually get that. That's the Figma file. Okay. No questions from people. And someone just asked, what is the difference between beta and MVP? Okay. Someone also asked, in empathy stage, do companies give you access to customers? If not, how do you find willing participants? Okay, I would answer that question first. At the empathy stage, you are actually the one carrying out the process. So you will be the one to send out the forms. And if you are doing it for a company, if you are employed, obviously your company will handle the process. Sometimes they even send out paid surveys. When they send out paid surveys and the results come in, they send the results to the UX researchers to use as their data for the whole process. So I hope that answered the question. Now, for this question that says, what's the difference between an MVP? Now, MVP is just the minimalistic version of your app. The beta is still, you can actually create a better version as an MVP, which is with Bubble, and you can create a better version with also. Beta is just like is like a version that you haven't worked on completely. You are still testing certain things, but you want to put it out there for users to start using so that you can get proper feedback and see how it can work. Now that is better. MVP is you building something minimalistic that can also be a better version. So I hope that answers the question. If you want more in-depth explanation, then you can ask me for that. Now, someone is saying here, how do you reconcile between user needs and stakeholder needs in your design. Okay, the way to do that is when you, of course, you'd prioritize user needs over stakeholder needs most times, because the stakeholders most times will actually want you to prioritize the user needs. So, so if you have a case where the stakeholders, like the primary stakeholders actually, because the users are still stakeholders. Now, if you have a case where the, let's say the investors or the owners of the product are like telling you don't prioritize user need, then I think um, that is not the best way to run the business. Most times you'd have the stake, like the owners of the app, tell you to focus on what the user needs so that you can come up with better solutions for that. Now, I hope that question was answered properly. And there's another question here that says, as to the user persona, please, when you have over 20 people, how do you create just one persona? Like I said, what I have here is just a user persona for one person. I am assuming, this is an assumption actually. I am assuming you won't create for one person. You would create for everybody. You would create for everybody. This is just me creating for one person because we don't have time, we are just learning. So I hope that was answered also. Then I have a question here that says, when doing your research, what happens when you can't get people who are willing to fill a survey? Then you send to more people. Yeah, in that case, you send to more people, or you sometimes make it a paid survey. You pay people to take the survey. That happens a lot. Now, so during the empathy stage, can't we engage the user to an open end survey by giving them a long length paragraph of paper feedback? Yes, you can actually. Einstein, you can do that. Now, there's a question here that says, whose responsibility is this first process? UX researcher only, UI UX collaboration. Yeah, it's the UX researcher's responsibility. Now, I'll just take two more questions, then we can proceed to the low fidelity stage of our framework. Now, so if you have 100 respondents to a survey, are you saying we should have 100 personas? Yes, you would have 100 personas. You would analyze all the 100 surveys and you'd create them. Sometimes you might select 10 out of the 100. Sometimes you might select 20 out of the 100. But most times um, the results from the surveys are analyzed with spreadsheets or other analysis tool so that it can give you a wholesome answer. You can use pie charts actually to know how many people said yes to a question and to say how many people said no to a question. Using spreadsheets can make the analysis really easy for you to understand. I hope that question was answered. Yes, MVP stands for minimal viable product. Minimal viable product. That's what it stands for. So what's the difference between user task and user flow? User task and user flow actually they are actually close in meaning. They are not really different in meaning. Sometimes you can choose to create a user flow. You can choose to create a user task. I prefer user task because user task will outline the actions that the users will be taking on your app. That way you can actually build a better experience if you can outline better actions for them to take. So that's all I'm going to take for questions now. If you want me to proceed, just type in yes, yes, yes in the chat box. Then we can proceed to the next section of our flow, which is the Figma design prototype section. Which is the Figma design prototype section, as you can see it here. Now, the first thing that we are going to have here is to design a like a low fidelity version of the idea that we created in the ideate stage. So that's what we are going to do first. Design a lo-fi. Then after the lo-fi, we come up with a hi-fi, which is a high fidelity prototype. So what I'll do now is I'll go back and I would open a Figma design file at this stage. I hope everyone is following. I would open a Figma design file at this stage. Now, not a Figjam anymore. I would still share the Figma design file actually. So I would open a Figma design file. Now, this Figma design file, I had already created a Low-fi. What I'll do is I'll walk all of you through the process of how I came up with the Low-fi and how I created it so that you can actually understand the process of coming up with a Low-fi on your own. So I would duplicate this tab. I'd have this here. And what I'll do is I would go to this Figjam file that I shared to you guys, and I would zoom into the task flow session. Now, what I want you to know is this. Sometimes you may be confused on how you would come up with a low fidelity prototype. Sometimes you may be confused with that. A pause. Tosin, I can't understand what you mean. Now, sometimes you may be confused with how to come up with a low fidelity prototype. If you guys can hear me, say yes in the comment section. I don't know if you guys can still hear me. Now, when you are confused with how to come up with a low fidelity prototype, this is what I would advise you to do. Go to your UX research process, yeah, and use the task flow or the information architecture or the user flow. Use that to come up with your low fidelity prototype. Sometimes you see people coming up with low fidelity prototypes and they include sections that are not necessarily a task that will lead to the user completing or accomplishing their goal on the app. What I mean is this: sometimes you see people you see some persons create a low fidelity prototype, and you'd see them creating a like an FAQ page on an app that does not really need the user to go to the FAQ section to complete their task. Now, if it is an app that needs the users to go to the FAQ section to complete their task on that app, then you can have the FAQ section there. But if the FAQ page is not needed for the user to complete their goals on the app, then when you are creating your low-fis, you don't have to include that. The low-fi is basically creating screens that will enable the user to complete or to accomplish their goals on the app. Now, it is important that you take note of this because from your low-fis, you can build a better experience and a better flow for the users. Now, a better user experience is focused or is tied around the task that the users have to take to complete or to achieve their goals. That's it. That is what like if you use WhatsApp, for example, there are some people who spend 6 months on WhatsApp and they don't hide their last scene. They don't let's say hide their status or something like that. What they do mostly is just send messages and read messages. Now, that is their concern. And that is what most people on WhatsApp do. So if you are designing WhatsApp and you focus on hiding last scene, then that means you are supposed to be designing a spy app, not WhatsApp. So that's just the that's the focus you should have when coming up with a low fidelity prototype. So to create a low fidelity prototype, use your task flow for that. In my case here, I'll start with satisfying the needs of the applicant. So I will start with creating a low fidelity prototype for the applicant. That's what I'll start with doing. So for the applicant, the first task that I'd like them to accomplish is to sort through available jobs and select one, right? Now, what are the actions that the users will take? First things first, the users will have to visit the homepage. This is the task here. Now, how will I make this visible as a designer? It means I need to create a homepage for them to visit. So I would come here, I would create a low-fidelity prototype of my homepage, which is this. So this is a low-fidelity prototype of my homepage. So as you can see, I don't have much details, and that's how low fidelity prototypes are. They are supposed to be. You don't need to have much details actually. Now, I'll just have my logo here and the post a job button here. I would have this message here, and I would like to collect emails from users so that I can always send updates of jobs, of available jobs, and my newsletters to them. Then, when the users come to this homepage, I would want them to see the list of jobs. Now on the homepage, I would ensure that I focus on that goal. As you can see, visit homepage, sort through list of jobs on homepage. Now this task here, I will focus on it than any other task. This task will be focused on than any other task. Now, if you have a job board, that when the users come on the job board, they will see different things, like they'll see you designing, having pictures everywhere, and it will take them some seconds before they start looking for where you list the jobs. That is actually a bad user experience. All you have to do is focus on the goal. Just focus on the goal. Every other thing is not relevant. If the user knows that your job board is reliable with a good experience and they can apply for a job under 2 minutes, yeah, the users will prefer your job board to a flashy job board. They will always want to come to your own website to apply for jobs because it is actually easier. So users will always prefer easier flow than flashy flows. So what I'll do is, in my low fidelity prototype, I'll just have this hero section here, or this banner section, and I'll list all the jobs that I have on my job website. Now I'll just have 4 listed here. Since it is a lo-fi, you can have 2 or 1, but I'll just have 4 here. Now I'll just list the jobs this way, and that's all for the homepage. Now any other thing you want to add on the homepage is not really important. You can choose to add, you can choose not to add. But for the homepage here, you have achieved your goal for the user, which is for the user to come here and see list of jobs. Now this will not, now with this here, the user won't spend 2 seconds seeing or going through the list of jobs, and the users won't be distracted with advertisements or with images or with news or with announcements and all of that. The users won't be distracted with that. They would come here and under 2 seconds see what they came for. Now this has been achieved. This here has been achieved. Now the next task here for the applicants is to view details of selected job and click on button to apply for that selected job. If I come here now, and let's say the user comes to the home page, yeah, and the user has seen a job that they like. If the user clicks on one of the card, the user will be taken to the next page, which is the page where the user will see the details for that job. Now, if you take note, we are accomplishing the task of the user one after another. We are heading to the user goal, to the end goal of the whole process, which is going to please the user. This is how you build a good user experience for the user. You focus on the task. So over here, we are seeing the job details. You list it how you want to list it. Now, personally, I like to carry out my copywriting process when I am building my low fidelity prototype. It makes the job easier for me when I am designing the high fidelity prototype. I don't have to think too much on what to write. I just go to my lo-fi screen, speak all the text there, paste it in my get it, yeah. So personally, I like doing my copyright process here. That's why you can see I have all of these written out clearly. Now, when the user sees the details of the selected job from the homepage, they would click on this apply button here. Now, if we come back to our task view, you'll see that after they click on this button, they would go to the next page here, which they'll have to enter their full name, email address, and all of these details before they click on the apply button. If I come here, I would create a low fidelity screen for that. And this is the screen here, where I have all of the fields that users will have to enter. Then when they enter all of this, they'll click on apply. When they click on apply, they would have an application successful page. Now, to keep users on your app, give them a button that says keep applying. Now, let your copywriting be as explicit as it can be. Communicate with people on your app like you are talking with them. Don't make the users have an app language and a human language. Let your language be the same on an app as the way you talk with people. Like, tell them keep applying. Don't say go back to home or go back to, just say keep applying. Now this will most likely attract the attention of the users more. Then when they click on keep applying, the users can then come back here and sort through more jobs. Now, when these four low fidelity screens, when these four screens have been like when I say when the user has gone through these four screens, it means that we have accomplished the user goal. This applicant's goal, which is to send job applications. So you can see that I used my task flow to come up with my low fidelity screens. Now, I don't have to add a page that will show announcements or career advice, or I don't need to add a page that will show how you can build a good CV. Obviously, when you are building a job app, you can have such pages added once in a while. You can add so many other options. But for my low fidelity screen, I don't need to add all of those pages. Now, the next user flow here, or the next task flow here, is the task flow for the organization, which is for them to sign up or log into the platform and post a job. And if you see here, the actions are visit the homepage, click on post a job button, sign up, and log in. Now, when the organization visits the homepage, which is this, and they click on this post a job button, the organization will be required to log in or to sign up. Log in or sign up. Now, when they log in or they sign up, if you come here, you see that in the task flow, the next action here will be to fill in job details and click on post button, which is what we have here. They would come here, they would fill in the job details for that job, then they would click on post. As easy as that. Now, when you do that, you have accomplished, or you have made the user, which is the organization, to achieve their goal on the app. So with this low fidelity screen here, I have been able to accomplish the goals of the applicants and the organization. So you see that you don't need 100 lo-fi screens, or you don't need much lo-fi screens. Just focus on the user task and all the actions that the users have to complete on your app to achieve their goals. So that's that. If you have any questions, say it in the chat box. Yes, Isaac say what if you have a success message? Actually, there is a success message here. I just didn't talk about it. Like, look at this alert message here that says job posted. And there is another message here that says your email has been added to our mailing list. That is when the users type in their email address here and click on the subscribe button. I just didn't talk about it, but there is a success message there. Now, okay. Yes, you can use Bubble to build random company websites. So if you want me to proceed, just say yes, 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 and we can proceed, and we can see, and we will create a prototype of this low fidelity prototype, so that this low fidelity screen, so that you can see how you can prototype it to your stakeholders, like the guys at your office or the person you are building the app for. So this is what I have here. Let's create a prototype of this. So what I'll do is, for the applicant, I'd like for the applicant to select one of these jobs here. I'll click on prototype. I hope everyone here knows how to do this. I'll click on prototype here. I'll click on this card, and when I click on this card, I'll bring it here, on tap, navigate to details page. I can come here also, click on this see details link and still take it to this screen. So that if the user clicks on the card or this see details, the user will be taken to this page. Now, on this page here, when the user clicks on the apply button, I'd like them to be taken to this page. And this is okay. Now, when they come here and they type in all of these details, I'd like them to click on the apply button also. And okay, and they would have the keep the application successful message. Now I'd like them to click on the keep applying button for them to go back to the home page. So I'll come here, I'll select home page. That's okay. Now I have completed the flow for the applicants. Can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me? Okay. So I have completed the flow for the applicant. Okay. Okay. So I have completed the flow for the applicant. Now let's create a flow for the organization. Now let's create a flow for the organization. Now I'd like the organizations come here, click on post a job. When they click on post a job, I would like them to log in. Now I'd like the login screen to be a pop-up, yeah? So what I'll do is I would come here, I would keep this as on tap, and I would set this to open overlay, and I'll keep this set to centered actually. And I'll have that. Just basic. Now I like that when the companies log in and they click on the login button, they can then post a job. They can go to this page where they would enter the details of the job and finally click on post. Now, when they click on post, I would like this message to show up, this alert that will say job posted. Now, this alert will show up on this page. So I would come here, I'll change this from navigate to open overlay, and I'll change this from centered to manual. Then, okay, sorry about that. Change from centered to manual. Then I would say, I'll keep that like that. So that's it. Now I can come here now and I can say, okay, let's create one more flow, which is the flow for the subscribe button here. When the users come on the page and they enter their email address, I'd like them to subscribe. I'd like them to subscribe. And when they click on subscribe, they should see a message that says your email has been added to our mailing list. Just like that. I hope everyone is following, yeah? Okay, Blessing, I am not creating the sign up flow. I'm just creating the login flow because this is a low fidelity prototype that I am creating. So I would come here now, I would select the home page and I'll click on present. And then I would wait for the page. Now, this is what you present to your stakeholders, like to the guys at your office or to the owners of the app. Now you tell them that, okay, when the users, the applicants come to the app, the applicants can scroll down, look for jobs, then click on one of these cards here. They will see the details of the job, scroll down. If they like what they see, they click on apply. When they click on apply, they pass in all of these details and they click on apply. And they will have this application successful message. Then they can keep applying. Just like that. With this, you have demonstrated how you want the flow to go. Now, if anybody comes on the app and they don't see any job here, they can type in their email address and click on the subscribe button so that job updates can be sent to them from time to time. So if I click on the subscribe button here, you'd see that I have an alert here that says your email has been added to our mailing list. If I click on it again, you see that I have that. Now you can demonstrate this to your stakeholders and tell them, okay, this is how it's going to be. The users won't have to leave this page, or the page won't have to load just because they entered their email address to subscribe to daily updates. And that's okay. Now for the organizations, you can also tell your stakeholder that the organizations can come here, click on the post a job button, and you'd have a pop-up here where they would type in their email address and their password, and they would click on the login button to log in. When they log in, then they can enter job details here, and they'll click on post, and okay, I have this job posted at the bottom here. That's wrong design. So let's come back here and let's correct that. So I'll bring this up here. Just keep it there. And that's okay. Now, if I come here now, and I reload this, that's now going to work correctly as it's supposed to work. So if you see that I have this job posted at the top here. If they click on post, they'll have that message that says job posted. Now, they will still remain on this page so that if they want to keep posting more jobs, they can keep on typing the details here and posting the jobs. As simple as that. Now, when you present this to your stakeholders will give you feedback, and you can factor in those feedback in the whole process. Now, before we go over to start the high fidelity screen, I would say if you have any questions, you can ask at this stage before we start getting set for the high fidelity design. And don't forget, this is a 2-day session, today and tomorrow. Today we are going to do a lot of the design. Tomorrow we are going to build this into a real app using Bubble. Like, we are going to build the database, the front end, the workflow, and all of that. And I'll share the link with all of you, and you guys will be able to apply for jobs on the app itself. So if you have any questions, say it in the chat box. If you don't have any questions, say yes in the chat box so that I can proceed. So can we create the low fidelity form? Jumadi, I'm sorry I didn't get this question quickly. I don't really understand what it means. Does that mean that we can use Bubble? Yes, I have answered that. What if we decide to give a success message to that application? Yeah, I've answered that. Okay. Lo-fi is wireframing. Yes, lo-fi is also wireframing. Okay. Which means yes, I would see if I can post this on YouTube. So I hope everyone is following and show us how to build a low fidelity form. It depends on how you like to design. Personally, to build a low fidelity screen is easy. Select your frame tool, create a MacBook frame. You can increase it. You can create forms with, as long as it's lo-fi. There is no rule actually. Let's see one here. You can just use a rectangle for it. Set this to 8. Give it a stroke color. Take out the fill color. Like this. And you type in a placeholder there. You can say just something like this. Make it light. Make it 14. Keep it here. Then you can just play around with the color. Like this. So like this, you must have created a form. So all of these designs here were not created with any design rule at all. Just sketch or just build whatever you have to build here. Just use rectangles and use shapes to come up with this. There are no principles here. There are no rules since it's a lo-fi screen. So now for us, okay, for the Figma file, yes, I'll share the link to the Figma file. And For how I created the pop-ups, I would also demonstrate that. Let me share the link to the Figma file currently. All of you guys can have access to the Figma. That's it there. Okay, the numbers in the house is really dropping. It's 150 now. So let's start the process of our high fidelity design. So, like we know, you design your high fidelity screen from what you have in your low fidelity screens also. So that's the importance of also having a low fidelity screen. You can design from that process upwards. So I would click on this hi-fi page here. I would create a page, and what I have here is I have just created few colors that I would use for this project. Now, this color here, this one here is my accent color. Now, this accent color is like the most prominent color that I would have on my design. And I would use it on buttons, or I would use it on certain lines also, this accent color. And I would use it on links, like text links. I would use it on links. Now, this color here is my surface color. I'll use this color on surfaces like cards and all of that. This is for my text, typography. This is for my background, and this is for my outline or my placeholders. Now, if you ask how I came up with these colors, it's just me playing around. Simple. You can just come here, create anything you want to create another color. Then you can play around with this, make it lighter like this, and you have a color that this can sit on. That is how I came up with these two colors. This color gave birth to this color. And it is always important to have a color that was born from another color, like an extreme color of an existing color. Like this here is an extreme low of this color. And that's why if I create, let's create this like this. If I create a box with this color and I have a circle, and I have a circle with this color staying on this box, you would see that because this color is like a child of this color is able to sit down on top of this color without color rioting. Like, it's cool. So that's how I came up with these colors. This here is an extreme opposite of this one. This one here is an extreme opposite of this one. And this one here is in the middle of this and this. So just create colors around themselves. Don't go too far from your colors actually. Keep your colors close to themselves so that you won't have your users being blown off by some colors. All of the colors will remain friendly as long as they are close to themselves and they can relate with each other. So I'll check this out. That's how I came up with colors. So for my typography, I would like us to come up with little typography. Let's just let's come up with a heading typography, which is just going to be 48px. So I would have this be 48, and I would like this to be DM sans. Then I would like this to be medium. I would keep it here. Then for the letter spacing, I would like it to be 0.8px. You can set yours to however you want to set it. Now for the line height, I would set this to 57. Just like this. Or let's make it 64 actually. Now, if you don't know how to deal with line height, it's best you set this to auto. That's all I'm going to say. Now, I'll make this my heading text. I would save it as a style. I would say heading text, yeah? Now, I would create a small heading, or let's say medium heading. I'd say medium heading. Now, I would add this. I'll make this 36, regular, and I'll make this 0. And I'll save it. just like that. Then I would create another heading text, which is going to be my small heading. Now, this is not by the standard of any documentation. This is because I have what I want to design and I know what I want to design. And for a job board, you don't need a huge design system, for God's sake. Like you won't create a design system just to design hot Nigerian jobs, or we work remotely. You get it? So that's why I'm not going to create a huge design system. Now, Jones, the recordings will be will be posted later. I will drop a link to that later. Now, for the small heading, I'll just make this 24, and I'll keep it set to regular, keep this set to 0.5 px. Now I'll save this. Then I'll just have a body text and a button text. I'll say small heading. Then I'll have a body text. I would say body text. I like my body text to be 16 px. Then I'll keep this set to 0.5, keep this set to regular, and I'll save this. And I'll have a button text that's going to be 14 px. Or I'll still keep it set to 16 actually, then I'll make this medium. Give it weight more than this. So I would call this button text. And I'll just have another variant. I'll just say small text for links. Yeah. So I'll detach this. I'll keep it set to 14. And I'll keep it set to 0. And that's okay. Now I can use this, all of this text here and this color for my design. I can. So I don't need something really huge. Now let's just create 1, 2, 3 components and see how it's going to look. Let's just create a button. We'll start our design because you know we are going to reuse buttons. Now, this is something that is really important. Many people actually always wonder, when do we use components? When do we create components? Now, I would explain that before we actually design the high fidelity screen. I would explain that, if not today, in our session tomorrow. So I would say button. Let's create a button component. I would use the button text for that. I would create an auto layout of it. I would rename the auto layout button. Then come here, set this to 24, left padding 24, right padding 24, top padding 16, bottom padding 16. Come here, I'll set the corner radius 4. Then give this button component that color. Okay, I haven't saved my colors yet. I would come here, I would save this accent. I would save this to surface. I would save this to typography. I would save this to background. And I would save this to outline. Yep. So I would come here, I would keep this button auto layout selected, and I would go with the accent color. And for the button text, I'll just give it this color, and that's okay. Now, this is our button component, yeah? So I'll just keep it selected and I'll make the component. So this is really okay. This is really okay. This color blends actually. So we are ready actually to start using this to create more components. So before we start creating the high fidelity screen, I'd like us to create an input field, because this job board really needs input fields. Like you can see that the applicants and the organizations always have to type in stuff and upload stuff. So I would create an input field. So to create an input field, I'll just say input, keep it selected, create an auto layout on it. Then the bottom will be 16, the top will be 24, the right will be the left will be 16, and I won't set anything for the right. Then I'll align the content to stay at the left center of the left and the left and the vertical center of the auto layout. Then I'll stretch this to this point, keep it selected. Then for the fill color, I'll give it this color. And for the text color, I'll give it this. That was supposed to be for the color there. I'll give the fill color this color. I'll have the text color look like this. Then I'll give this a color of 4. Then I'll give it a stroke color actually. The stroke color will be this color now. So this is going to be my input. So I would come here, I would rename this to input. And I'll make it a component. We have input buttons, then I would create an upload button here. This is going to be easy. So I'll keep that there. I'll give it a fill color, which is going to be this. And also, I'll give the text this color, or I'll give it this color actually. Then I would make the corner radius to be 4. Now this is the button the users will actually click on if they want to upload any document or anything at all to the web application. So I'll keep it selected, then I'll make it a component, and I'll rename this to upload button. And that's okay. So with all of these, we have actually gotten a good head start for what we are going to need in the designing of our high fidelity screens. So what's going to happen is, so far we have designed the low fidelity screens. We have also gone through the UX research process, and we have seen our colors, our typography, and few components. So just not to overwhelm everybody, tomorrow what we are going to start with will be the designing of the high fidelity screen and see how to implement it with Bubble. So just to ask everyone here and seek okay, somebody said I should redo the input button. I'll get to that. Okay, someone is saying it's kind of okay. At this stage, we have few minutes. We have 15 minutes more, so you can ask questions actually. You can ask questions, and please, we need the records. Okay, you can ask questions, and I'll actually give answers. But what I'm trying to say is, tomorrow we are going to look at designing the high fidelity screens and getting this stuff working in Bubble. So I'd like to appeal to everybody that we make tomorrow's session 3 hours. If you like that to be 3 hours, so that you can actually touch on or address issues by everyone, then you can say it in the comment section. Say yes in the comment section, so that I would actually have time to go through some design principles, then also have that implemented in Bubble. Then any other questions that you have, this is what's going to happen. If this Figma file is, if this Figma file allows you to write, yeah? If it allows you to write, like to edit, drop a comment in this Figma file here so that I can address all the questions tomorrow before or I can even address them before tomorrow, so that and you can also see whatever you have to see. Come here and see answers to your questions. If you can edit, yes in the comment section if the Figma file allows you to edit. Say yes in the comment section so that I would know it's sorted. Okay, no, cannot edit. I think this should work. Let's get another link here. I'll get another link here. I know the link can view can. Okay. Okay. This is actually, I mean, so what's going to happen is I would send a Notion document. Okay. I'm seeing somebody drop a comment here. Yes, commenting is the same as editing. Actually, if you can drop a comment, drop a comment. I'm seeing something here. Commenting is the same thing as, it's just what I'm saying. Leave comments instead of editing. You can leave comments. Leave comments so that I can address those comments. And tomorrow we will go over some of these things and get out. If you guys want me to actually do a session where I would go over the basics of Figma, like auto layout, spacings, margin, paddings, color selection, all of that actually. If you want me to do something like that, then maybe you can also share that with me so that I would find time to create a session for that. Because it seems so many people are kind of lost in the basics and I am too fast for some people. So maybe I'll just have to do that also. All right then. Thank you all very much. Thank you all. If you have any question, like I said, say it as a comment in the Figma file. This is the link to the Figma file once more. This is the link to the Figma file once more. Say it in the Figma file, and also all right then. Thank you all very much for joining. Thank you all very much for joining. See you all tomorrow. Tomorrow we are going to have a very broad session, and I'll actually make it slower and easier for almost everyone watching. Thank you all very much for joining. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. Take care.